Very well, welcome again. This is the final plenary session. There will be not a workshop unless you really want one. Do you want one? Yes, yes? Okay, we'll make a special one for you, too. Then you should divide yourself. What we're going to do is to have the same process, a plenary report out by the teams, and I would like to invite them one by one to just listen to what came out of the discussion on how to proceed on the results that we want to establish. I'd like to invite Group 1. Let's start in this order. Start with Group 1. Who was in Group 1? Just a group over here with Alphonse. There's 3 persons required. It's a very good story in 3 chapters. I'll help you a little bit to get in. Here's a mic for you.
Yes.
You hand it over?
You start.
Okay, so Ger, there he is. Okay, so this is a miracle challenge. We'll see whether we're really smart or not because we've changed from left to right the order of things. So, yes, I'm Sasha from Living Labs Global, Artur Serra from the Fundación IDOSCAT, and Ger Baron behind the board from Amsterdam's Innovation Motor. So we discussed what should we consider to be the most important actions to launch the City Protocol program. And we basically, our thinking has divided into 2 parts. One is what do we need to do to kickstart it, to actually get things moving. And another part, how do we create an action plan and the modelization frameworks. So just very briefly, I want to summarize what we think needs to be done to kickstart the program. And we basically focused on how do we build a short-term momentum and broke that up into a number of dimensions. First of all, launching groups and identifying challenges, and Artur will pick up on that in a moment, explaining in a little more detail. But we think that it's very important for us to start with associating the city protocol with problems that the cities want to solve. Otherwise, it's hard to tell the story also to other stakeholders. Then the dissemination, we need to take what we've done here over the last couple of days to others and also let those others carry it forward and throughout the process. Develop what we call the short white paper, meaning a document that begins to explain what is this all about and how can it work. And recruit cities and stakeholders, meaning we need to actively build a bigger community around this, identify projects and programs that don't overlap with us and bring them on board or identify that maybe there's certain lines we don't want to cross with our activity. And then lastly, we have the governance aspect. How do we organize ourselves? What is the balance between the interests of cities, of the business community? How do we balance the interests so not to lose credibility? On the other hand, also to be realistic about who is innovating where. And lastly, and this is my point to hand over to Arturo, the idea that we need to have a strong group of cities from the start that are willing to pilot the city's protocol, meaning to apply it on a day-to-day basis to feedback. So the running code equivalent of the internet example. And that group, and Arturo will explain a little bit more how that works and refer also back to the challenges we need to put forward.
Yes, in order to start the process, we are designing a kind of methodology we could call project, test, and a standard, PTS, okay? The project is the areas just you identified that are urgent for your city, and trying to gather these projects in working groups in this city engineering task force. Okay, we should start by projects, identifying needs and actions that we should develop as a kind of protocols in this kind of area, okay? But as the internet works, you need to test this project, these needs, in some kind what we call city labs, city as laboratories. We need some cities that can run laboratories, open laboratories, with these kind of projects could be tested as soon as possible. Because the guarantee that the standards are robust is that before they are tested And we have this kind of network of cities that could be similar to this kind of ARPANET, that we need to collect cities that want to help us to test this project. This project could be developed by different kind of cities around the world, but should be tested in this kind of city laboratories, and then to create this kind of standards. And remember, a protocol is not only a document or an agreement, it's an effective procedure. And the procedure tries to solve these kind of problems. That means that the protocol we have to develop should be practical. It should be robust, because all the cities need these protocols in order to solve the problems. That means we need to develop a connection between the projects and the working groups there, the testbed, the cities as a laboratory, and then the standardization of the standards of the city.
Thank you. And then in our discussion, we basically talked about, well, we also need to go, well, to action. And the risk of most of these types of events is that we're, well, spend a whole bunch of time on talking, and probably have 3 other meetings talking, but we fail to go to an execution modus to really do things. And like Arturo was saying, living labs, piloting are all part of this, but we thought we also need more or less, based on the goals we set for ourselves, a roadmap. A roadmap, well, maybe it's an agenda is a better word. I mean, we want to make big steps where we can really see that we go forward. And in this agenda, I mean, you could start out with a framework or some starting points, like what we mentioned, openness of everything and all these things, role of the city, role of companies, and making, well, comprehensive roadmap basically to really go to execution, and make also sure the finance to not only execute things, but also the finance to make sure, well, the whole city protocol activity we plan over here is being arranged without making new large organization, because one of the things we discussed as well, that there are, I think, 18 initiatives at the moment in the world who are thinking about the same thing, gathering cities together. I think most of you have seen before, and if I don't, there are loads of places to go to for all of you. So we need to find ways also to gather all the knowledge there is and make something that's appealing for everybody. So it's also an open process we need to develop, and well, there should be some dedication to go to an execution phase within our roadmap and create the agenda which brings us forth and not keeps us stuck where we're right now thinking about the definition of a city protocol, because still after 1.5 days when I talk to people, not everybody envisions the same thing with it. So that will be a good starting point. And maybe a wrap up from Session.
Well, wrap up. I think one of the questions that at least I haven't been able to answer for myself was personally I think the cities protocol will be strongest when it's associated with cities presenting specific challenges with it, problems they want to solve. Those may be process problems, or those may be urban problems or societal problems. And in my view, that's the most valuable pledge a city can make, is to say, we'll use this, what is emerging here, to solve specific problems. On the other hand, we also had a discussion that a protocol is a protocol. It's a process, it has certain generic aspects, but we might risk that it's difficult to communicate it to other stakeholders, to show that we're really trying to improve our cities with this and not just create another organization. So I don't think we cracked that point in any way, and probably we'll come back to that, but it's certainly something that's been puzzling in our discussion. So I think we're great, we've done great, 6 minutes instead of 9, so any questions from anyone?
No questions?
I've learned from Alphonse that quietly I count to 10 and then it's over, so thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Some good initiatives. Let's immediately go to group number 2, and let's try to find out what's new, what they came up with. So what was not in the first presentation to add on?
Thank you. Well, thank you. We're going to divide our participation. I represent the city of Lima. Augusto Ortiz and Neil works for an enterprise, so I suppose. But we were very complementary, I think, in our group. and there's a lot of proposals. I think this how to build a castellet, as we found last night, was very motivating. I think we agree generally on the proposal of the openness of the notion of this city protocol that was presented by Manuel this morning. Among the things that were said, there's an issue of vision of cities. What are the issues, what are the subjects to deal with the differences in between cities, the singularities, and what they have in common, the specificities, and to acquire an awareness of the other, of the multiplicity of urban realities and shapes and forms that happen today, so as that the network is really representative. No? Then obviously there are some strategies. The previous group have explained the series, and we're very concerned that this has to work. We want it to work. So there's a strategy which has to do with several levels, diffusion, generate pilots, things that happen soon and that prove that this network works. The idea of maybe pilot projects which are parallel, as it was said before, that several cities do the same kind of thing at the same time, and that then this can show a sort of series of good practices, or this can generate a communication, and also the notion that this communication interaction is useful. No? I think obviously there is something to do with identifying other parallel initiatives like this one. Another issue was to get the city's commitment, even though we are invited to sign a document as persons. It was mentioned in the discussion that it's important that cities in themselves, as organizations, assume also a role, so that means something more relevant than simple particular participation, as we are all, I think, engaged in already. Then a series of steps or rules or agenda, maybe now I can explain it better, the steps that we see that will make it efficient and happening soon, so that we can see it as a thing that it's working and not simply a literary protocol, so as to say. And I think that as a final thought would be that in the proposed organization that was presented this morning, it is very important that the cities included are representative of all our different types of cities. No? The central, the so-called marginal, no? The rich and the poor, the first world, the second, the third, the fourth, if that means anything today. And that we have then historical cities and new cities, emergent cities, or cities like mine, which are both.
Okay, thank you, Augusto. I'm Niall. I'm from Microsoft. Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered everything over here. You know, just two things that I'd highlight on top here are, you know, very strong focus on the need to, you know, to know how we're going to sell this. You know, there was a big debate about the fact that yes, you could have individuals sign up to this today, but ultimately, you know, are they signing on their own behalf or on behalf of their organization? You know, and there are complexities around organizations like councils actually signing up to this, in that there may be approval processes, etc. So we really need to think about, you know, who we're selling this to, and whose agreement and buy-in do we need. And then the other thing, you know, on this whole question of demonstrating the value and getting momentum, you know, one thing that came up was, yes, of course, you can do pilots and quick wins, but is there an opportunity to actually create a catalogue of the things that we're already doing out there today? And the advantage of the protocol could be the fact that these things could be structured, these examples that are out there today could be structured in a way that makes them visible, because there's lots of things out there, but it's very hard to get visibility of what they are, and, you know, were they effective, etc. So finding a way to categorize what's already been done would be a great way of bringing early value. Then over on this side, really, the point here is more about, just organization and how we get this going. And the group 1 already covered this, but just a couple of things that I think didn't, that to add to what group 1 already said here. We think we probably need a task force literally to focus on the scope and organization. So how the mechanism of the city protocol will work, because there's a lot of complexity there. I think you need almost a group who are only thinking about that. And they need to think about, roadmap, the rules of participation. They need to think about how will the group collaborate. And we talked about the notion of an online collaboration platform to allow people to actually, interact and make submissions, etc. And the importance of getting that early. So a lot there on collaboration. Another point here was on the importance of identifying leaders. In order to get that momentum. And finally, an interesting debate down here around the whole notion of business model. And the point really was, if the protocol defines goals and standards to be achieved, we have to accept the fact that many of our organizations are structured differently. And in fact, they may not be structured in such a way that it'll be easy for them to absorb these learnings. And in a way, therefore, to be effective, we may need to share learnings about the organizational structures, the business models, if you like, that will enable organizations to adapt and absorb these learnings. So the need to almost have a parallel track there. So I think that's about it in terms of incremental to what Group 1 already said. Thank you. Any questions?
I would like to ask a question, if it's allowed. So you said a few things about inviting other cities and have a good spread. Did you go into detail on that, how to do that?
No, I think it's simply an issue, a preoccupation that obviously, I suppose we are all representative of more, but the invitation that Manuel made this morning, that is inspired by the openness, no? In the fact that this multiple reality would enrich the content and the quality of what we can do together. No? It's a preoccupation rather than a proposal in the direct or concrete sense. No?
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. So Group 3 is already on its way. At least 2 people. Yeah, part of it. Give it a good start.
Hi, I am Montserrat from Citigroup. And in our group, Group 3, one of the, I think, overarching themes that came up...
I have to keep the mic a little bit closer.
Sorry about that. I moved my hands too much. One of the overarching themes that came up was the idea that we need to achieve a balance in order to really show, to launch the protocol, achieve a balance between maintaining that spirit of openness, of inclusion, and collaboration among cities, industry, organizations, academia, and civil society, and at the same time being open but being very concrete, to have a minimum structure and a governance model and some sort of methodologies to achieve the results that we all want to achieve, to pursue the common goal we have, right? Which sometimes we haven't heard too much, but we all pursuing the same thing, trying to make our cities more efficient, more sustainable, more innovative, more integrated, and smart cities. So for that, the group felt that it was extremely important to elicit the commitment, top to bottom, from the policymakers, from city administrators, from citizens, and also our own personal commitment as members of the city protocol. And for that, to be able to really push for that advocacy, one idea that came up was the idea to develop an elevator pitch. So something that is short and snappy and helps us communicate broadly what it is that we're trying to achieve and why this can be really impactful. So let's see. So what we said, and I think also groups 1 and 2 have touched upon that, but between now and November, we have really a master plan and a roadmap that defines what the goals of the protocol is, the strategies, the methodology we're going to follow, and specific timelines. And to do that, we need to identify specific areas of work. So I think the documents we've received have been a really good basis for, to get things started, but we all need to look at them and see how really those areas are relevant to us. And there are areas like energy, water, mobility, and many others. But among the city participants in our group, some of them mentioned the fact that they really do have a need to look at processes. So not only areas, but also processes that are cross-functional, that help them manage better, their organization within the cities. So, and key to identify those quick wins will be to create pilots that could be originated by cities themselves. I think Sasha mentioned that on Group 1. And that could happen in simple ways like crowdsourcing today, right? The cities can go in whatever platform Manel is going to build for us, and they specify what needs they have, and comes academia and say, well, actually we have a method that could help you look into this, and comes industry and some corporates that have tools and have resources to use and match their needs and solutions. And finally, we thought it was very important to, again, on the issue of building some structure, to define a governance model that is formal, but that is very flexible. So there's a minimum amount of procedures, so we all know how much time this is going to take us. We're going to meet how often. We're going to have to report on what regular basis. And that there is, always open communication and consensus to have a sense of achievement from the beginning, from the onset.
Hello, my name is Manuel Herrera from Rosoka Group. I'm coming from the industry to collaborate and be a member of City Protocol. Okay, I will try to point the main ideas. We have a point that is very important. Fix a knowledge base, a database of the experience of the group that are innovating from the city, from other stakeholders, and create like a database of best experience. We have commented on some colleagues to share this information and this successful experience to feed the community. We have point also that is important from our thinking, create a working virtual space, okay, that everybody could identify what is the group or the people that are working in this idea or in this specific sector, okay, and contact and propose ideas or receive some information. It's important also to open this system to the people that is participating. Okay, we have identified also some specific action that we think that are important. One is communication. We are able to show to the society internally and externally what are the progress of the city protocol and the work groups. We will have a better, we will be able to show better solution to the society. Also, another idea is keep the network alive. No, we had to come back home, but we like to continue, and it's important to have this volunteer, these people working to go on with the project. We think also that we had to make a quick definition of some things, like one of the proposal for launch an initial board of director with the idea of keep alive the project. Also, other identification is like perhaps launch a group working group for thinking funding and finance. That is important for, at the end, to apply these ideas and this protocol. Linked to the communication and the quick definition is an important chapter is indicator. Okay, we had to identify or propose what are a minimum amount of indicators. Recommendation, we know that perhaps it's not equal for all the cities. Another idea is we have to keep in mind that we have to be global. No, there's a lot of cities here, some cities that we will also member or participate with us. We have to think in global, not only in one country, in one continent, in one model of city. And linked with this, it's important. There are some ideas important. We have resumed like content and methodology and governance. One of the comments was about the name of the CPA. No, some people think that perhaps why not come back again with the RFC. No, it's a question of name. It's an idea. Okay, it's, I explained to the team. Also, it's an idea that is explained by our colleagues of other groups. Is what is the running code? What is the parallelism with internet and city protocol? What could be our running code in the city protocol? And say the same, no, a specific area for application for CPAs. Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Very concrete. Thank you very much. Is there any question from the audience? If not, I have a question for you. The elevator pitch, you were mentioning an elevator pitch. Is that an elevator pitch for all of us the same, or each one takes his own?
No, absolutely. I think a common elevator pitch that helps us all do the advocacy that we need to do to spread the message.
Okay, so that would be a kind of a value proposition,
yeah,
or
something short that
okay. And is there a specific? Is there a specific target group you're looking at?
Well, it has to be broad enough to appeal to policymakers, to decision makers in the cities, particularly, and then to the citizen, that it says something to the citizens. So,
to the citizens.
Because what you want to do is get as many people on board and okay. supportive of the work that this group is going to do.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah.
Broadly applicable.
Yeah, please. I'll give you the mic. Just a second.
The idea is that the elevator pitch, I think, should have a very short, simple summary of what the city protocol is, and then a list of benefits, short benefits, that are appropriate to different audiences. So we could say, city protocol is this. It will benefit you, if you're the citizen, or if you're a company, or if you're a city, or whatever, by doing this, this, and this. So it should be very short and sweet, but it should have the benefits. The description should be common. The benefits should be oriented to different audiences.
Thank you very much. Any other builds? Yes, please.
Thank you. Just noticed you also mentioned something about the quick wins, or low-hanging fruits, as we call it. Could you elaborate what you mean, or did you discuss any specific projects?
We didn't discuss that many, but like one of them, the governance idea was one. It's like, let's quickly figure out what are the minimum structures we want to have, and that doesn't have to, I mean, it has to be very simple, right? Because that's the whole idea of keeping things very fluid. So we said one working group could immediately, get that out of the way. There weren't that very many ideas, but it clearly. What we said, they have to come from the cities, and that's an idea that Group 1 also mentioned. It is the cities themselves that have to say, I have this need, and who's out there who can help me, figure out what standards I need, what processes I need, and how can I work on them.
Another, continue with my colleague, the idea is we see two levels. No? There is one, the umbrella and the governance, all the very, very good objectives, general objectives, open, no, but some people have commented that these work groups, we identify some specific area that the important, in this case, we think that is the people, no? The people has to feel that that the proposal is for solve some of the problem of the people. No? Therefore, in this idea of keep alive the protocol and make some quick wins, perhaps some work groups that can start in a short time to start and to test and run and go in this first priority that the city can identify. No?
Thank you very much. Thank you again. Yes, give him a hand. And let's go to the fourth group that will have. I'll take it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have them take the floor.
We love being last. We have nothing new to say. We agree with groups 1, 2, and 3. Actually, we had a discussion about badge protocol. So when we meet again, we request that the badge have our names on both sides. In terms of our group, we've had a journey, and it's been a very close-knit group, and I think applause should be given to our facilitators who have done a fantastic job. They made us look intelligent, that we really have something to contribute and say. But let me get down to the elements of what it would take to launch the City Protocol program. And we really came up with a whole bunch of things like you all did. And perhaps what was different is perhaps we drilled down in a few areas more so than what I've heard, at least in terms of what I saw on the boards. When it came down to it, we were able to prioritize things only after we put things up, like you. And the first thing is this idea of an elevator speech, to have this clear message, have something that is so clear that we can go to anybody, anywhere, any one of us in any city, to anybody at any level, and say this is what this is all about, and this is how you're going to benefit. So I think there's general agreement there. And then we have a whole bunch of things that go with that in terms of defining objectives, having more definitions of why and what is a smart city, what is an intelligent city. I think that's important because we've said before that there's no mayor on the planet that wants to be part of a dumb city. Every mayor wants to be part of a smart city. We have to show them how. And that raises an important question when we move over to the second point, and very, very related, and we wrestle with which came first. In terms of clear message, yes, we have to have what it is that we're doing and why before we get to the how, but also this idea of communicating to the upper level people, because in the end, when we talk about cities, we have to recognize, and we all know, that most cities have anywhere from 200 to 500 separate business lines. And so therefore, cities are complex organizations, more complex in some ways than the human body when we look at the various systems within that. So when we look at that, wouldn't it be nice to come up with and recruit, say, 10 mayors of the world, or 15 of the largest cities, to get them to sign something very quick, very simple, very easy, that says we endorse this, that makes it easier for those on the staff level from all these different silos to come together and feel that they can participate openly and have the full backing of their city, wherever they might be. So we talked about the idea of identifying champions to get both a commitment and also to get people above the silo level to help us form, because to make the city protocol truly work, we need to be able to cross through these different silos and all these different organizations. And I'm going to stop there so I can share with my partner in thought.
Okay. My name is Wolfgang Teubner. I'm the managing director of ICLE Europe. Well, I mean, from the more sort of the side of the framework and the communication, I mean, we went more to the practical steps of it, and I think there was basically when we started from what everybody says, basically define work areas and then define task forces in order to deal with the different work areas, and of course and link that clearly to also a timeline and a roadmap that has to be laid out in order to make clear that we don't have like open-ended processes, but that we want to achieve clear goals. And of course that in order to create the credibility and the trust in the continuation, that we have to come up basically also with potentially a next kind of meeting and event like this, in order to basically also foster the community where this might happen, and whichever city wants to host it. Also, I think that was shared with some of the other group, that we have to have some pilot cities that are testing and experimenting with the protocol, or the protocols that are going to emerge. And well, I mean, I think one key issue, and where we spend some time on, is of course the working mode. And that we said basically before all that, if we even are not in a stage to go public, but I think some sort of a web platform where we share basically the results of today, and where we create a working mode, so where we have document sharing and so on, that basically as of now the dynamics that we created can be continued immediately without having any personal meetings. And last but not least, well, I mean, I think of course we have to somehow reflect and get on board currently existing processes and initiatives that are linked in. And I think in some way or another we will have to define interfaces to these processes that make sense, so that we sort of don't start reinventing the wheel again and again, but that we just make use in the most efficient way of what's there, and use appropriate interfaces to bring the knowledge and the initiatives on board, so to make it work within the protocol system. I think that's, or would you like to conclude?
Yeah, that's perfect. I think even though we wrestle with 1 and 2, we believe that there's something we can do right immediately, and that is we really do see a need for a website right now, a web portal that brings us all together. At the very least, to just have all the presentations, have all the names and addresses of people here in the room being done. We got it. How successful Group 4 has been. This is good, wow. Now, let's see what else we can ask for. Now, there were 2 other things that we talked about, which is very important. One, at the very end, our group started talking. We couldn't stop, and nobody told us that lunch was reversed. So when we went downstairs and saw everybody having this elaborate coffee break, we got suspicious. But we kept going. And one of the things that we said, we caught up, don't worry, even with the wind. What we realized is that to make this successful, we really have to have this city-led. The cities have to be in front of this. The citizens have to be part of that. All the rest are a support system to this. So I think this is what our group was basically saying. But then we raised one important question. And this is more of a question, I don't have an answer. Even Google has a business model. At some point, everything we've talked about is free. And at some point, we have to understand, how does this sustain itself over a period of time? So on one hand, we have governments that have needs. We have corporations, vendors, solution providers who have solutions. And then somehow in the middle, we have to find that great balance that allows the cities and citizens to be front and being the ones propelling this thing forward. But in all that, we support all the other things here, and we really thank, being last, our hosts that have made this such a meaningful experience. So thank you all.
Do we have a question? We don't have a question. Thank you very much. Very good story. Thanks a lot. We have facilitated many of these sessions, and it's a big compliment, I can say by heart, the way you can all be on the stage and express in a couple of minutes, because the time was never up. In a couple of minutes, the essence of the outcomes of the discussions. In many cases, we go into details and stumble after 10 minutes on card number 10 or 12 or 13, and we miss the whole point of what the discussion was. So I think it's very good that we are all able to get the key aspects of what the discussion gave. That's very good, a very good quality of this group. At the same time, there's a lot on the boards of yesterday, of today, and this morning we found out a little bit of what could be a conclusion on yesterday. And there's a lot of things common that we should take on as a group. At the same time, we'd like to invite you to explain to yourself what would be your personal next step as from tomorrow. Just a couple of small things. It's the low-hanging fruit. It's your own elevator pitch. It's the story you tell to other people as from tomorrow. Just small, probably small things. And before we go into, you will get a form to fill in. We come back on the CPA, by the way, in a couple of minutes. But before that, please give the forms to the people. You can have a look at it. And before we fill it in, I would like to ask Manel to give a short explanation of the what and the how and how we will proceed. Could you tell us, Manel?
The what and how? Yeah, okay. This paper is basically to have information on what you are interested. We are going to open up 2 working groups, one on the what and the other on the how. And these working groups would be experiments on how we can work together. Obviously, there will be very wide groups, but we want the discussion to continue. So Vicente is going to announce the technical aspects on the site and the way, the platform that we have built so that the discussion goes. But we would like to gather the information on what are your interests, your names, and if you would like to participate in these working groups or not. Of course, you will have to sign for these working groups. Nobody is going to put you in any working group that you don't want. So it's only to gather your interest, and then you'll be contacted so as to whether you are interested in joining these 2 working groups. On the other side, there is these 3 key points or something that Ono can explain.
So it's just to help you to sort out what do you want to do. What do you want to participate in? Either the work stream what, do you want to participate in the work stream how, and you will get an invitation. Do you think there's a concrete next step in extending the network? Is there a couple of persons that you think should have been here or should be member of the City Protocol Society? If you know of these names, write them down or write down what your personal action would be to extend the network, if you think that's worthwhile. If you have any other thing that you would think of to do tomorrow, we're quite interested in that, and we can share it as well, because it might be a good idea for somebody else as well. So 3 columns, you can fill it in, we take 5 minutes, and then we go to the next item.